Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with the French Follies 2 series, and this is the current branching version of, hey, we decided to stick by Czechoslovakia, and Czechoslovakia has lost. Germany has yet to align with Italy. I don't know if it will, now that it's at war. We have left the alliance with the British, so I don't know if we can get them back in. Bit of a recap, we were unable to occupy the Rhineland area prior to Germany coming into it. And even with our motorized forces against non-motorized forces, which I'm a bit disappointed in, but yeah. So we are on the defensive. We have 35% war support, 14% national stability, and negative 22% political power. Hey Arno, good to have you here, my friend. And so things aren't going terribly well, other than we fell back to the Maginot Line and we're holding there. So I quite honestly don't know where we're going to go from here, other than at least one more episode of watching this be somewhat of a stalemate here. So that's where we are. I don't know how long we can hold out. I don't know how the AI is going to react to all of this. Whether it's just going to go down national focus trees and, you know, try to come around the Maginot Line and kill us, or whether it'll just, and whether Italy will come in or not. And we don't currently have anybody except for this one little garrison unit along here. Maybe now that we're seeing this stalemate, yeah, you know what we will do? I'm just deciding now. Okay, since that's all nice and stalemated, let's move you down to here. Move some garrison units here.
Bougez-vous. Attention. Bougez-vous. Gardez vos rangs. Bougez-vous. Parez.
Okay, well, I guess to there, and one that's already down here. Now we have some mountain divisions here. Well, let's move a couple down to here, to where, if you notice, like this province can only be attacked from this one province, but this province here can be attacked from 2. This province can be attacked from 3. Okay, so we're going to put one mountain division down to here.
Écoutez.
I guess one mountain division to here. And one mountain division back to here for the moment. Because at this moment, because there is no fortification here, and unless we're going to go on the offensive, this province is of no use to us. It's actually a detriment to us to try to hold this. And this is, you know, I'm so disappointed in Paradox. I don't know why companies do this. And it's not just Paradox, but they go, well, you know, I pushed, along with other people, I'm not trying to be anything special, but I pushed, you know, in the early days, well, why don't you, you know, do battle plan kind of defensive scenarios so that you can do that. And Oh, well, that would be once the human player learns what the battle plans are, then it will be easy for them to defeat. So we want a more interactive AI. Okay. Then well, why don't you create a sort of a battle plan maker, so that players can, build battle plans for the defense of France, and then weight. You can weight the battle plans, as different likelihoods of being used or whatever, and then it can randomly pick battle plans out. No, we just want a good AI that will, be able to figure this out and play better. We want to go this route. So, you'll see that, yeah, we'll station the mountain division here, and we're going to stick the armored division over here. Yeah, doing things like that routinely. Sometimes they get it right and have a mountain division. Because notice, I stuck the mountain divisions here because this was a mountain province along the coast here, as opposed to, hills or urban here, hills here. So I stuck the mountain division to defend the mountains. And the AI can't figure out that this particular province should not be defended. Hey, the Bear Jew, how you doing? And it's not only not good to defend, it's a bad idea. Now, if there's fortifications here, that's a different matter. But because, again, it can be attacked, this province can be attacked from 3 provinces here. So if you have 1 division here, it can be, 3 to 1 or more. So you have to stick a lot of division here. But you have to defend this province and this province anyways, because they face on the front line here. So you should put your defensive here, because this is also a mountain division or mountain province. Now, if this had been plains and this had been mountains, then it might be better to defend here, because you can defend in the mountains easier than you can defend on the plains. So and again, unless you're really planning on pushing hard into the Italians or something, you should not have any troops or any defenses here. You should have them back here, and that way they have to push in here. And then if you want to, you can attack this province from 3 of yours. So this is a bad province unless you're actively attacking. Neither side should want to do it. So I would love to be able to go, this is the line, build a defensive battle plans, and have the AI, will do this kind of defensive, and then at some point try to figure out, going on and on and on. Oh, hey, wait a minute, I'm not holding this. I'm incapable of holding this line here. Well, let's fall back to the river. That's plan B. Is if this doesn't hold, fall back to the, do different fallbacks and or whatever, but have these plans. But no, they didn't want to hear us, because they're going to develop this better AI that they didn't do, and I don't think they're putting any more significant effort into it. Hello, Vault Boy, how you doing today? I don't know if I've seen you around before, but you're very welcome to be here. Glad to have you. Okay, so let's continue this here, but that just sort of quick analysis of this border as it currently stands. There is reason to hold here because of the port and whatnot. There is reason, though, there's decent reason to not hold here as well, except this does have an air base. So some Czech units that withdrew to there, I see. So that's the only reason to want to hold this province, is because of the air base. And since you have so few air bases around, it may be... Oh! Pauluin. I'm sorry, I'm butchering that, I'm sure. And Arno saying hi over on YouTube as well as Twitch. Okay. Now they're coming after our convoys, so... Well... we've got these guys here now. Let's assign a, let's pause this. Let's see if we see a Seawolf commander. There we go. And let's do convoy rating here and here. So if the Germans come out to there, you convoy raid. Now you okay, let's give him another commander of not okay, yeah, a spotter, that seems all right. Okay, let's be sort of tricky. Let's select you, and you're going to patrol here and here. And you, as part of this task force, is going to be on strike force for here and here. Okay, so these two will patrol. These two will come out and strike when they spot something. They got some naval bombers there. Our coastal submarines here. We'll find another Seawolf commander. There we go. You will convoy raid. Let's put here and here. Not so far up to there, but cover that sort of area. Now, okay, yeah, that looks like a decent task force. And you look like a decent commander. We're going to send you over to, yeah, La Rochelle. You go over to La Rochelle. This will be anti-submarine force. Just Kalo. Okay, Kalo, that works. Thank you. That's something I can try to remember. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Words I'm unfamiliar with like that, I don't necessarily know how to pronounce unless I hear them, and obviously I can't hear you say it, so yeah, Kalo works just fine for me. Alright, okay, so there's some better organization of our fleets, hopefully here. Now I do have some aircraft operating around here to help with anti-submarine or anti-ship operations. Okay, what we just had, we have this research, but it's out because this is the London thing, and we can't do London because we're no longer aligned with them closely enough. Okay, this one, okay, right. And we're still back in fairly early 39. I think, factory repair, speed, production, efficiency, retention. I think that's the one we'll do. Hello, USA man. Yeah, I have one that's unusable, and this one here that I'm just now switching over. So it will always show me one here, but it's the London one is unusable currently. What are we doing for aircraft? Okay, we have a bunch of fighters here, so let's see about, well, up here maybe. These are mostly out of date and old stuff, I do know that, yes. Okay. Yeah, 50 fighters here. So once you get here, come after fighters and bombers. I don't know if we specifically have Czech exiled divisions. I did notice we do have in this airbase here some Czech air wing support units here that we don't control, but there's 22 of them here. I guess they flew out of Czechoslovakia before the surrender. I'm not sure how it's going to work with, you know, this war starting in an unhistorical method or setting. Not that it couldn't have started at that time, but... For those of you watching either live or later on YouTube, I am also playing a game, a multiplayer game, in which I'm playing as Britain, but we have a human player as France, and which we went down the more historical path. But it's sort of a comparison. Now this is French alone. Okay. German claims on Memel. Message status cancel lend lease. Okay. Okay, so they've got Memel peacefully. Yeah, okay, they're canceling. So we may at some point here see a 1940 or so push around us, which would, not being overly pessimistic, but which might not succeed for us. What is this? Japanese, whatever. Let's look at this template. Okay. Some heavy artillery, headquarters, and some garrison units. Sort of kind of hoping this holds out in an urban environment. Okay. Back to here for us. I don't think that would be better.
Attention!
Let's just specifically look at that. It looks like a decent mountain division. I don't know how well these will hold against the Italians, but hey. We'll give it a shot. Yeah, well, we have time. We're preparing, but we're really... okay, let's see. Yeah, we're building one factory, but that's all we're currently building and trying to deal, so it's not terribly great out. Let's move one of these divisions up to there, because I moved the mountain divisions around. Both divisions there, just in case the Germans decide to try to come across the Rhine. I'm using the Black Ice mod. Tommy, I'll call you. Yes, the Black Ice mod. We're playing as France. Okay. We now have another free factory. Well, let's be actual sort of paying attention here, looking at... Okay, we can use more infantry weapons. We don't have enough guns or enough uniforms for everybody, about equally. Though we're building slightly more uniforms. Transports, well, we may not go anywhere. We need more radios, a lot more support equipment. I think we'll go with just basic guns. Rifles. The Moss 36. Now I still... I wish mods did a better job at this. I hate the way Paradox looks at this. The Moss 36 was adopted somewhere around 1936. I'm not terribly familiar with the gun. I do know it was the last major new designed bolt-action rifle to go into service in a major nation. I use major in two different ways, but I mean both of that to be done, because it was being designed before 1936. I'm not exactly sure whether that's the exact year of adoption or they just decided to call it that and when it went into production, but it was the new rifle for France. Of course, and I'm building more of these because I don't have enough infantry equipment here. rifles, as it were. Meh. Now, and I say that because, the British during World War II rationalized the Enfield rifle, because the Enfield rifle was I could go into, well, I don't, there's really good YouTube videos that go into all the details of its evolution of being created, and there was a lot of weird parts sort of on the gun, if you will. They sort of simplified it during World War II production without trying to go down in quality. But the Germans and the Japanese, very much so in the late war, are making crummy rifles, where the Enfield isn't to the last model. I forget the exact model designation, but the last main model designation of the standard Enfield rifle just sort of still is trying to turn out a nice rifle, but without a lot of extra mechanical complications of the manufacture of it. But that's just another evolution of the Enfield. And then, which was sort of adopted, was the Jungle Carbine, which is just on a light. But it's the same sort of action and all that, where the MOS 36 was different significantly than the old Lebel. The old Lebel, has a tubular magazine running down it, as opposed to a cartridge box. It's a very different gun. But there are France. In 1939, in France, in 1936, day one, should have more than enough infantry equipment to equip the entire French army, because they have that left over from World War I, and they continued production of the World War I guns after World War I was over, because they didn't want to go, war over, shut factory down, all you are out of work. So they tapered off most of the major nations tapered off their arms productions after the war. So they were produced tens of thousands of these guns after World War I was over, just to have fresh guns as opposed to guns that have been beat up for 4 years or whatever, and to keep people employed as factories either wound down or converted over to civilian manufacture, making bicycles or something. That's sort of a common thing. Hey, thanks, Arno. Do appreciate you putting that up there, the MOS 36 rifle info. And so there should be plenty of equipment and field uniforms. Okay, well, World War I French field uniforms were basically blue, powdered blue. By World War II, they're of this olive drab. I would be shocked. I mean, literally shocked, if you were to come and tell me that there wasn't warehouses full of French uniforms left over from World War I. Okay, I would be shocked. Sitting somewhere in 1936 when this, and to the point of more or less fully equipping the French army. Now, if you equip the French army day one, okay, everybody gets a spiffy uniform. Well, in 6 months of non-combat, the uniforms are going to start looking a little tatty, and after a year and a half, they're going to be, not so good. You're going to need new uniforms and boots. This is not even combat. This is just, your normal sort of training and use and whatnot. Boots are going to wear out, but they've got to have enough boots to do this. Now, we say gamer, they're World War I, they're blue. It's called dye. Germany gets a hold of huge amounts of uniforms from the Netherlands, from Belgium, from France, and they end up using a lot of them, often dyed like a sort of a navy blue or other type colors for various, militia type units, that are locally raised in the Eastern Front or other places. They're used for various things. And so they, without the French badges on them or whatnot. And so, and the Adrian helmet doesn't really change from World War I to World War II for France. So there should be huge amounts of this stuff. Now, as I just said, the boots and the uniforms are being consumed as the soldiers wear them. So the idea that I'm producing some maybe newer field uniforms 2 instead of field uniforms 1 or field uniforms 0, earlier model 0 as opposed to model 1 or model 2. Yeah, I should want to have a few factories because things get consumed, used up as the game does. But the idea that I have to manufacture enough to keep from having these numbers here that are negative for something simple like this. Now, newfangled radios, yeah, they didn't have those in World War I. And as time goes on, I don't know. I just quite honestly don't know how widespread use the radio was down. Now, this little bit about, and I'm sure we may talk about it in another episode again. I know I've talked about it in another series. But France, the French military command, its headquarters for the 1940 campaign, I don't know, and I could look it up, was just somewhere in here, okay? I've seen photos of it. It's sort of a fortified manor house, with a moat around it, a drawbridge kind of thing over it, but it's not really a castle like you might think of as a, doing air quotes here and you're not seeing it. But so it wasn't really a castle, but it was sort of a fortified manor house, and it had a drawbridge, so you could drive cars in and out on it. And it had, as its communications center, one phone line. The Supreme Command headquarters for the Western Front, this with Germany, we're not talking about the command down in Italy or the command down whatever that was sort of guarding the Spanish border or the command in case somebody invaded, the coastline. We're talking the main front had one phone line coming in and out. So they could make, the whole command center could make one phone call. Okay? Now, why was this? French didn't have phones? Didn't think they were important? No, they had them. They also had radios. I don't know if they had a radio in this command center, probably, but I don't know. But I know they had, I remember from watching a documentary, they had one phone line coming in. Well, the French had an order, not just sort of a rule or a guidance, but an actual order was they could send and receive, someone can send a command over the radio or over the telephone. Like, hey, yeah, I want you to attack Hill 405 over there. Oh, yeah, okay, that's great. I will do it I'll get ready. I'll do it as soon as the written orders show up. They had the orders, that written orders, this is for World War II, not World War I. For World War II, they had it that you have to have written orders because they were afraid that the Germans would either over the radio or over the telephone somehow get hooked in the telephone lines and start sending, commands, telling them to retreat or telling them to attack or tell them to go to sleep at noon instead of midnight or whatever it might be. They were afraid that the Germans would come in and impersonate them and give misleading orders, as well as sending misleading reports like, hey, yeah, they've broken through the Meuse, they've crossed the Meuse, when they're really way over here, and somehow, get in there, and so the French are all scrambling to come find out, no, they're nowhere near the Meuse. So they wanted to deal with signed written orders and signed written reports, and that this headquarters had a whole bunch of motorcycle messengers. So the idea was that the messengers would come screaming into the motorcycle with written reports and maps that's showing where the Germans are making their advance, and they would take them into the planning headquarters, and the planning headquarters would go figure it out and draw it on the big map so the generals can look and see the progress of the war and say, oh, well, we should shift this core from here to there, you know. And so the command loop cycle from where, you know, the guy at the front sees something and makes a report, or an aerial reconnaissance sees something, gets it back to the headquarters to figure out what's going on and send orders out, was completely arthritic. Don't get me wrong, I was still send written messages with cavalry. No, they were well, they may have been cavalry units, but they were mostly, at least everything that I've ever heard or seen by World War II were motorcycles. You know, vroom with, you know, powered engines. They might technically be cavalry troopers, you know, as coming from the cavalry, but they were, you know, motorcycle USA man. At least that's my understanding by World War I. They still had some mounted, but so did the Germans, some mounted units, you know, on horses, but it was motorcycles, what was going on. Dispatch riders, whatever you want to call them. And so the command loop, the whatever it was, you know, might have been good enough. You know, we're talking high command here. Now, of course, there was also a command loop, you know, for a division, you know, from the guy in the platoon telling the division commander, you know, what's going on in this area. There's a command loop there, and then there's a command loop for a corps, and then there's a command loop for an army, because this was basically the front commander was basically an army group. There's several armies here. Sorry, I really don't know how well the French, you know, details how it was organized on the Western Front. But so, you know, there's different command loops, because really the report from, you know, Corporal Pierre up here doesn't really go to the high command. He sends it to the battalion commander. The battalion commander sends it to the division commander. The division commander sends it to the corps commander. The staff, you know, the corps staff here writes up a report and sends that off to the, you know, the Supreme Command headquarters for their corps, telling them what's going on with our corps, you know, as it's on the front. Or if it's back here, oh, hey, we need more bread. We need more French bread. Or something, you know, or we need more flour to make more French bread. Or, hey, we've got extra. You know, we could send it somewhere else. Whatever, you know, and, you know, how ready this reserve corps is, or how much fuel you know, daily report, how much fuel stocks do we have? Because even though it may not be a motorized corps, they may have a few tanks, but they got their, you know, dispatch riders and some trucks to tow some artillery pieces, and, you know, some of that stuff going on. So they, you know, most all corps at least need some fuel level. So how big is their fuel supply? You know, send in daily reports and keep that monitored. And, you know, there's staff weenies all over the place checking all this stuff out. Were World War I tactics still useful in World War II? Yes, some tactical tactics. That's different than strategy. Yes, absolutely. If you were to read Rommel's book, which he wrote in the interwar period, which many German officers read, Patton read it, almost said Hitler read it, but he may have. His mountain war, and it's mostly dealing with mountain warfare, that would be very, very useful. His tactics of World War I in the mountains would be very, very useful in World War II. So yeah, those would be. Now, some of the trench warfare tactics wouldn't be terribly useful against panzer divisions. They just wouldn't be. But, yeah. And they still have some level of use, most assuredly. So you can see, you know, and so there were radios in the French armed forces. But most tanks, well, seeing as how about, at least I would say, a third of the tanks being used by relatively frontline units were leftover World War I tanks, the FT-17. I know we talked about it last week about it, so we're not going to go into French tanks again, but were leftover World War I tanks. So, and the standard tank did not have a room for radio. There were a few radio tanks that didn't have any guns on them, and they either shouted or waved flags at nearby tanks, but they did have a few radio tanks. I don't know if any of those in particular were in use in World War II for the FT-17, the radio version. Sort of the three-man version was the radio version. They had a box. They didn't have a turret up on top. They had a wider box up there that crammed three guys into it to operate the radio drive and sort of be the commander there. But so, the standard tanks did not have radios in them, okay? I don't know for units down at, battalion, company, platoon, what type of units, how much radios they had. So the idea that I'm deficit of what even would be planned for radios may be very, very historical and very right, because it's something new being introduced. As opposed to, like I say, this is the Shosha or machine gun of World War I. And the French did have a bunch of them left over. But to the best of my knowledge, very, very, very few of them were used in World War II. They had a newer, better machine gun. And seeing this, as we have plenty of these here, let's see, are we doing more than... What is our production for machine guns? Okay, we just one factory. When we get a better machine gun, we'll switch over to it. But these guns are crap. But they were using a thing that vaguely looks like a BAR bipod light machine gun. I forget the exact designation, but so the newer machine gun, some of this stuff I'm good with, that I have to produce all new stuff. And of course things like fighters and new models of tanks and new models of artillery, all of that stuff for France. Now see, and again, and I know I'm sort of harping on about this, but I think it is important to understand, because most all of you play. Yes, they had anti-tank guns. I think they were mostly 25 millimeter. Don't really remember. Here, Canon de 25 millimeter AC 1934. Yep, I was right, and I hadn't even looked there unless I subconsciously saw that. Yep. They did have them, and they were around. How long will I last? I'm not sure. Hello, Cebu. Oh, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. We're going to see how long we do. Germany had so much of its equipment stripped away after World War I. Partially for war reparations, they were demanded to turn over MG08, the machine guns. Basic, the Gewehr 98 rifles. So much of their equipment was ordered by, the end of the war to be shipped out of Germany to the different victors of the war. That Germany does sort of have to start over to build their large army. I mean, they have plenty of World War I weapons to equip their so-called 100,000 man army, starting in 1933. So, and probably easily double or triple that number. They have that kind of leftover World War I equipment. But that's, to equip 100 to 300,000 man army. Of course, they go much larger. So they do have to build all new stuff. They don't have this huge reserve of World War I stuff left over. And when Germany goes into places like France, like Belgium, like the Balkans, particularly Yugoslavia, they recapture warehouses of World War I German equipment, like rifles and machine guns that were never used by the nations, often because the wrong caliber or whatever, but were just warehoused and stored away. Germany comes in and goes, hey, yeah, we'll take these back. And they use them all. They use all of that. They use all of the Gewehr 98s they can lay their hands on. They use every single last MG08 they can put their hands on. Now, I've seen photos of, like, I don't know, port in Norway or Denmark or the Netherlands or somewhere like that, and you see an MG08 in sort of you could shoot sort of at the sea, you could sort of shoot it at the air, sort of it's not the sort of traditional ground mount, sort of a dual purpose mount, so they were using them for, like, and this was probably before the Atlantic Wall being really built or whatever, so they were using them to, like, put in the Atlantic Wall or other sort of defensive positions, or you got your sort of the Einsatzgruppen of the SS or the Orpo police that are sort of, you know, both killing off large batches of Jews and fighting partisans. You know, they're sort of using in these secondary roles, but since they use the standard calibers, they use every last one of them they can get their hands on, because they are useful. And what is, I think, Michigan, you're talking about how only like 20 bullets you need to, before you need to read. Yeah, no, they were magazine fed. Ah, interesting. And they also had a 47 millimeter. Cool. That you managed to reconstruct the realistics. Yeah, yeah. Well, currently we're doing France, if they had gone to war over Czechoslovakia. Let's see, where's our mine-laying submarines? Down here, there we are. Okay, does that get all of our submarines? Yes, all of our shipyards. So we are just holding the Maginot. We're at a stalemate.
Gardez vos rangs.
Oh, okay. Military complex nationalization. Very good. Okay, where was that we just, military complex nationalization, right here. Okay, so we could do an aircraft, so that will help with our aircraft war materials production line. Requires, okay, that's fascist, so we're not going to do that. Partial mobilization, that would be nice. More than 40% world tension. Wow, this is stupid. Black Ice people, I don't know if you're going to watch this. You need to recode this national focus here, because one of the following must be true. Okay, well, we're at war. Okay, one of the following must be true. World tension over 40%. Well, we're at 29, but we're at war. Anschluss just happened. Why the hell can't I do this? One of the following, okay, one of the following must be true. Has economic, okay, economic laws. Okay, yes, I see these economic laws you're saying here. Okay, I get that. How do I get the fucking political power to change it here? Okay. I see now that I click here, I see the details, but this is not good. I know I get one a day. I need, okay, and so I need 125. There will probably be events happening that will cost me political power, but I need 100 days. 100 days approximately. I mean, it's not quite, it's very close to that. 100 days of war. And then I have another 49 days of war to do partial mobilization. This needs to be recoded. If I'm at war, this shouldn't matter, because this should enact partial mobilization, sort of like it says it will. It does. And so, yeah, no, this is badly coded. I thought I'd be able to get that once I got some of this military complex thing done. Oh. Hello. Let's see. Wojciechs? Okay. Zablat used just said that they created France as a country to be doomed. Yeah, it should be doomed. It should be very difficult to do. I'm not arguing. It just the idea of not even, we're not talking total war mobilization. Just we're talking partial mobilization, and we're at war. I should be able to at least start this. That shouldn't be. Hello, OCB. How you doing? Now, I'm not trying to be overly down on all this stuff, but I'm not trying to be a lum here and just bitch and moan about everything. Franc devalued, budget reforms. Let's see. National agricultural factories produced. Technology sharing, research developed. Develop Indochina, developed Tunisia, but they're, yeah. Wanted to get Algeria because Algeria is part of, you know, metropolitan France. Okay, gain stability. National or defense national funds stability down 3%. Really, people? We're at war, political advisors, okay. Now at peacetime, yeah, I could see that. I really could see the stability hit in peacetime. And this is probably what we need to do here, because we'll at least get some aircraft factories and some air experience. French intervention, yes. Yeah, I'm not saying... Well, okay. There should, and again, we did start this in 38 instead of the normal 1940 start time, and this is just because we're at war. Onslaught has happened, and I shouldn't need to switch to this. We'll do this. At least that's getting something. Yeah, and now we'll notice here, well, I think, let's see, now that this is happening, let's wait a day here. Because normally it goes down once you have... No, it's still just at 1. I didn't know if it was going to go faster. I think it may go faster if I didn't that, but it's just, yeah, almost after you change it better. Yeah, it is so long. Now, if this was peacetime, and I was trying to do partial mobilization, I get you. And I also get the idea that war breaks out, it should take like 50 days to mobilize, because we're not just talking about, with this focus here, because I'm looking at the effects, we're not just talking about, you know, call up the reserves and how well the guys put on their uniforms and show up at the front. We're talking about shifting production on a lot of factories and getting all that stuff together. Yeah, that should take 50 some days. I'm not arguing with that once you're at war. Once you're at war, not arguing with that at all. Now, getting ready for the war, you want to partially mobilize before the war starts. Yeah, I can see that. Let's change you to the train. Get you there this year. And France should be a difficult situation. I'm not arguing that at all, but it's just too much. Now we're down to low manpower. Am I even training? You see, I'm not even training any divisions here. I'm at low manpower because I don't have the manpower to change anything here. Improved armor construction. Okay. Let's see what we can do here with our... Oh, we got a bunch of these now available. Okay. Well, when I was ranting and raving, they came out. This is... Well, let's look. 1938. We're in 39 now. Do we care about any of this? I don't know. Let's do gasoline engines there. Aircraft model types. Better interceptor. Better naval bombers. Okay, I think we'll go with this interceptor then. I think we may have more use for that. Now over here, mostly I think we're gonna look at, okay, carrier tactics developed. Destroyer torpedoes. What about submarine warfare? We do have a few submarines. Okay, that would be over here, is it? Yeah, submarine doctrines. Okay, we could do improved. Yeah, we'll do that. We have some of those operating out there. Okay, any other free? Yeah, this one again is we can't do right now. I don't know what BIS means. There's several different tanks that at times use BIS. I don't know, it may be like improved model or something in French. I don't know. Maybe a French speaker will know. Hello, Martin. How are you doing today? Hungary leaves United Nations and -2 political power. Yay! That, you know. And they want to send us uniforms and some outdated rifles. Yay. We could use them. Okay, so that's our air coverage. They're mostly attacking there. Naval operations are coming along our coasts here a bit too much. Well, now that we have this guy over here, we're going to put this unit on patrol here and here. Get out and patrol that area, mostly in anti-submarine type operations. I'm doing very good. Well, the Germans come over here. Okay, our reserve of fighters is not the best. Are these fighters? I don't know. Yep, we'll put them up there. Probably to get shot down, but we'll put them up.
Aux ordres.
Thought I told you to go
Bougez-vous.
speedy on rails. Still messing around in here. Now we do have, these are carrier bombers, so we're going to put them out, operate over there to help attack anything that is found there. Yeah, they could have. France just really didn't have the mentality. Now, this part of the playthrough, and I will go back and let Czechoslovakia just be taken over, but we stood up for Czechoslovakia. Now, Czechoslovakia is lost, and Britain did not. They wimped out in this, but France stood. So this is sort of a divergent playthrough, and I will go back there if nothing happens, and maybe we'll just speed this up a little bit. But I don't know if anything's going to happen. Whether like Italy's going to come into the war. I do have some mountain divisions and reserve units here. Okay, Moss Model 40. I don't know what the hell that is, if there is any real such thing. But whatever. I just don't know. I'm not saying it wasn't. Big difference. Okay, been doing some of the entrenching type stuff to help our armies defend better. Yeah, better trickle back would be nice. I guess we'll do that because we're low on manpower. Okay, aircraft manufacturer nationalization. Okay, we could devalue the franc. So market, there they are, position party, 49 days. Levy en masse, army reform. Military research slots, that could be good. Okay, let's... Grand battery bonus for artillery. We'll do levy en masse. Sounds a very French thing, especially since the first that I know of a levy en masse was France during the French Revolution period. Germany had not collapsed yet. Then the Allies. The general said if Germany had not collapsed yet, then the Allies had not attacked. Well, Britain in 1939, Britain was in no shape to attack Germany. Because you got to realize, if we're talking the start of World War II as historically started, you have Germany attacks Poland in September. Well, between September and the start of winter, Britain has to get its army together and get it over to France. It's not ready to go and attack Germany in 1939 before, November. It really isn't. To be able to attack Germany. It's one thing to get a BEF over here to like defend along the Meuse in 1939 or some other place. Yeah, but to like go on significant offensive operations, no. Now, and I've played through, and you can check out some of my episodes for Panzer Corps II dealing with the Saar offensive that the French did in 1939. The French could have. The French did, as I was just saying, the Saar offensive. But they sort of, take part of this here and then retreated back. There just wasn't the French national will, but not just militarily, but politically and socially, the general society, to go to war and push into German offensive. There really wasn't ever that. Just not existing. Could they have? Physically, yeah. Would they have? No, I don't think so. That just doesn't seem to be in the cards. Okay, we got that interceptor. We're in June. Well, we could do a carrot naval bomber here. At least design them. Okay, well, we're going to end this episode, not the live stream, but the episode here. I'm going to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Love to hear your comments about any of the topics. So please post below. See you next time for more, even more Hearts of Iron.